Hello, and welcome to this chess iceberg video. What this is, in case you've never seen an iceberg video, is a deep dive into the never-ending void that is the chess world. Maybe you're totally new and know nothing but what you saw in the news or on Netflix. Maybe you know bits here and there, and just maybe you're already balls deep into this hellhole and need more chess content to consume. I know what it's like. I'm there every fucking day. Either way, I will go through from top to bottom explaining what each little text box means, and by the end you should have all the context and info you need to take the plunge and dive into the strange world that is chess in 2023. Just a warning, this is all one take. If I'm bothered, I'll edit out weird pauses, but I know myself and I probably won't. Also, I'm drinking. Right, let's get into it. So, first off is Queen's Gambit. What this is it is both a TV show and a chess opening. I'll get into what chess openings are later, but for now we're focusing on the TV show. The TV show is on Netflix. It's a really popular, really successful, and in my opinion, really bloody good TV show that centers around chess. It follows the main character, Beth Harmon, who is a young orphan girl. She learns to play chess somehow. I think she kind of sees some janitor playing it. Yeah, I think that's it. And she goes on to kind of just become this absolute prodigy and just shock the world because of many factors, really. First off, chess prodigies happen a lot of the time. They kind of just come out of nowhere. But the fact that she's a woman is a big deal. It's set in the 1950s, 60s, I don't know, Cold War. We're talking Cold War, okay? And, there's a lot of tension between America and Russia. It's a really good show. And the reason it's here at the top is because a lot of you will have already heard of this. It is a really, really popular show. It got a lot of people into chess. It got me into chess. It was a few years back now, but it's good. It's a good introduction, and it's at the top because everyone knows it. Second is Magnus Carlsen. Might not know this one, but this guy is, or was, the reigning world champion. He was, the best in the world, and he kind of still is. It's controversial. He essentially didn't defend his title. He just let it go. He was like, you know what, just play without me. And so the usual way they do things, they got a bunch of people, and the best of them will challenge the champion. Instead, they got, the second best and the third best to challenge each other rather than challenging the first best, Magnus. They battled it out. Jan Nepomniachtchi against Ding Liren. Ding Liren won. He's the current world champion at this point of the men's, not the women's. And he's bloody good, but it's a weird situation because Magnus still plays chess now and again, and he is incredible. He's an absolutely amazing player. So you may well know him. Next up is chess.com/LeeChess. These are the two main websites that people use to play chess. Chess.com is probably the one that you know. Chess.com does a lot of events. It does a lot of kind of special sort of tournaments like PogChamps that had like streamers playing against each other. And it's very good. It's what I use. LeeChess is, I think, like most people I know who play LeeChess, they play chess and they have played chess for like a lot longer than myself. I think it was potentially the bigger of the two websites. But chess.com has come along. It's really, and they've got differences, people have sort of preferences. I know that it's all to do with like timings and moves and all sorts. Listen, that's not important. What is important is that these are the two main websites. I would recommend starting with chess.com, but some people would hang me for that. Next up. Okay, next we have Gotham Chess. This is the biggest chess channel on YouTube. It has, I think about 4 million at this point. It's a lot of subscribers, and it really blew up in quite recent memory. This guy, it's a fantastic channel. It really sort of is a great entry point for a lot of new players. He kind of caters towards, well, not just a lot of entertaining videos. It's educational, but at the same time, his are very entertaining. He gets a bit of flack here and there from people saying, oh, it's not educational enough and it's not high enough level. That's not what he's going for. He's going for introducing you to the world of chess, and then for players like myself who've been around for not even that long, but who kind of know what they're doing now. I watch him still because you can always learn, and also he's fucking entertaining, right? Like his content appeals to all ranges of chess players. But if you're a new player in particular, I think it's a really good channel to get you into chess and introduce you to everything else. He does a lot of videos on the scandals that happen, like what's about to come up, and the news. He covers a lot of games, the men and the women's world championships, and he'll just find random topics. A lot of these lower down things you can actually find a video that he's done on. So, maybe check him out. Check him out if you haven't. Now, vibrating butt plug. This one, you will need a bit of context. So, you've got Magnus Carlsen, who I've already talked about. He is, at this time, still reigning champion. Incredibly good player. He's going a bit... I think already at this point, he's a bit like, I don't know if I want to keep playing chess at competitive level, because he's a bit grumpy with a bunch of stuff. Listen, as you're going to find out, this happens a lot. People... I think every top chess player, like real top, like number one, kind of goes either mental, or they just kind of start hating the game, or something happens. There's always controversy. Listen, that's not the point. The point is here, you got Magnus Carlsen, best. I cannot stress enough to you. The guy is so difficult to beat. And then you have Hans Niemann. He's a grandmaster, which is one of the titles that a really good chess player gets. I'll get into that in a moment. And he is against Magnus in a game. And the reason why I have this up here is that this scandal actually got into the news. So Hans Niemann beats Magnus, and it's a little bit dodgy. Magnus, he very clearly thinks that something dodgy happened, right? And the dodgiest thing for me is that after these games, usually in like interviews, the grandmasters who play these games, they'll explain their moves. They'll be like, yes, of course, I played this move because d4, d5, xyz, and it's like, okay, man, you lost me in literally the first notation. But Hans really didn't seem like he knew what he was doing. He really just seemed like he had no idea how to explain what he did. And he played in such a weird way that this guy, a lot of people were already suspicious. What makes it worse is that, and this he has confessed to, it was very obvious that he'd cheated online before, although he said never in any tournaments, but again, he wouldn't confess to that. And what doesn't help him is that he was kind of cultivating this image. How people, how any kind of, I guess they're not sports people, but maybe, I don't know, sports people, they want to cultivate like personalities and ideas, and often you get this especially in like wrestling and fighting. They want to be like the villain. They're like, I don't give a shit about anything, I'm just come here, wreck shit up. That's Hans Niemann. He's he famously said, the chess speaks for itself. I think trying to sound badass, I don't know, it's very difficult to be cool and play chess. Look, the point is that the guy was cultivating this idea that he's sort of the villain of chess, and then it comes out that maybe he cheated, and that's not okay. And so all of a sudden he's like, well, now hold on, I'm not actually that villainous, I didn't cheat. So that scandal happens. This this includes suing, like Hans tried to sue Magnus for defamation. Magnus actually quit the tournament after this. Where the vibrating butt plug comes in is that I believe this originated with a streamer who was saying, who knows how he did it? Maybe it was a vibrating butt plug. So essentially, a device that he inserted up his anus, and it would vibrate some kind of code to tell him what move to make. And one guy actually made a video that sort of proved this is doable, which is concerning. But yeah, so that gets into the news because it's mental. Essentially, the news saw that people are getting into chess. There's a lot of things going on, and yeah, they see this and they think, what the fuck is going on? Elon Musk tweets about it, or X's, I suppose now. Christ. And this really gets out of hand. It's everywhere. It's a lot of chess YouTube channels' most viewed video. It's a lot. In the end, we don't know if he cheated. You can't really go back and prove whether or not he did or didn't. I think actually a couple days ago, Magnus might have said, hey, look, whatever, he didn't cheat. It's over, we've buried the hatchet. But I don't know, man. I kind of think he cheated. I kind of think he did. But hey, who knows? On to the next one. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. I nicked a lot of these from other icebergs, but I kind of condensed it. Like, a lot of them were either really fucking dry or just had loads of different openings. And so I kind of condensed a lot of it and added in some of my own. This is one of my own. I hear this a lot when I'm talking to new people about chess. When they say, what if I play randomly? Like, what if I just play random fucking moves and you're so off, you're just like, whoa, man, I've never seen moves like this before. Would that beat you? The answer is no. And I actually understand where this comes from. I think this is just a misunderstanding of what chess is, which I misunderstood what it was just a couple years ago. Essentially, this isn't a game where, like, playing random moves is going to surprise me unless it's good. It's got to be a good random move. If it's not good, to someone who, and I'm not even saying like grandmaster or even any master level, if you're just someone like me who's been playing for a couple years and someone plays like a random move, 9 times out of 10 I can tell you if that move is good, and that's because in chess there's this thing called logic, and it's sort of like there are these moves where, like, there are logical moves. There are sort of goals, mini goals in chess that you want to accomplish. Maybe that's commanding the center and achieving all these little things, winning material. If you just make random moves, I'm going to very quickly realize that these are not good moves, and I can just punish them, which is a term used in chess for taking advantage of bad moves and beating the other opponent over the head with a stick because they played them. That should cover that. It's an honest mistake. I think I said the exact same thing when I was a bit younger. I just hear it so much, and I think yeah, it's just different. Like, if you want to, what, I'll say what I was just about to say there in a minute. Anyway, on to the next one. So we are on to the next tier down. This is like the top tier is someone who has heard about chess, and I think looking at what's in there, someone who's kind of Googled it a bit and watched a few YouTube videos, they're like, oh, I kind of want to get into this. So that's that level. This level is you've started playing. You've started playing the game and you started figuring out a few things and getting more and more into it, and maybe watching some more YouTube videos, and that's what this covers. So first off, we have Elo. Okay, so Elo is quite an interesting one, I think. When you start playing chess, you'll notice that everyone starts talking in numbers all the time. They're like, oh, what's your Elo? I'm 2,000, I'm 1,000, I'm 1,400. Like, and you might be wondering what these numbers mean. It's quite intuitive, you catch on quite quickly. Elo is essentially just how good are you? It's your rating. It's the higher it is, the better. Big number equals good. If you are Elo 1, which I have never seen, I think it's impossible, you're thick as shit, and dear God, you don't know how the pieces move. Actually, I won't call you thick. You just don't know how the pieces move if you're Elo 1. As soon as you know how the pieces move, most people become about Elo 100, 200, right? That's just knowing what the pieces do. When I first started, chess.com loads you in. It gives you an account of 800 elo. That's meant to be like, beginner. And it's like, off you pop. Good luck. If you lose elo. If you win, you get more. And I got knocked down very quickly to about 300 elo. And I was there for a good couple months. Admittedly, I've never really gotten into chess to the level you see a lot of people, like studying and doing all sorts. I never really learned openings and the like, except through just osmosis of putting videos in the background. But eventually, I kind of got a bit better. And I remember when I hit 1000 elo, I was very happy with myself. I thought, that's fun. That's, quadruple digits, good for me. But the thing to bear in mind is that the best players in the world on chess.com, they're up there, okay? You've got players with 2,400 elo, that is damn good. If you have a player who's 2,700 elo, they're phenomenal. They are a grandmaster in there and they're doing damn well. They're doing damn well. I think the highest rating on chess.com is probably 3,000, and it is probably Magnus Carlsen or Hikaru Nakamura, who I will get into in a moment. What I'm saying is, so elo varies immensely. I'd say you're a beginner until maybe 1400, right? I'd say 1400, and bear in mind, I can't warn you enough, people online, when talking about chess, the chess players are dicks, man. There are a lot of dicks out there, and a lot of them are chess players. Some are lovely, but good God, for what I'm about to say, some people would just lose their mind. I would say until about 1400, you're technically a beginner, maybe. I'd say maybe around 1200, you're a damn good beginner, right? But at 1300, you're starting to get, intermediate, you're doing pretty well. I'm not that good myself, really. I'm about 1600 elo, and it's that kind of, I'm the rating at which when I play people who don't play, much at all, I'll win, right? But if I come across anyone in real life who says that they're a chess player, they will absolutely wipe the floor with me. So online, chess.com can say that I'm in the 95th percentile or whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyone I meet who says that they play chess absolutely demolishes me. So, when you hit, I'd say 1900, that's when I look at that and I'm like, God, they are good players. They know stuff. They know the game. The only other thing to say about ELO then is that it is not an acronym. It does not stand for anything. It is the last name of the fella who kind of came up with this rating idea. His name was Arpad Elo. He was from, forgive the pronunciation, he was an American professor. I think he was born in Hungary, but he moves to America as a young kid. But basically, he creates this rating system, and people have used it pretty much ever since. It's damn good. It works. Why change it? Basically, that's what the ELO is. That's where it comes from. Now we can finally move on. Good God, this is going to take me forever. The Bomb Cloud, right? Yeah. So this is you started playing and you're starting to find out some more interesting things, some aspects about the game, and also some dumbass shit. For example, the Bomb Cloud. This is a sort of chess meme, as it were. What it is it's a terrible move, but people call it an opening. It is where your first move, you push the pawn out. You push a pawn out in front of your king, and then your second move, you move your king upwards. Now, this is a terrible move. It was sort of a joke move that people like Hikaru Nakamura, who again I will get to in a moment, but he's essentially a chess streamer, and he plays it a lot as kind of a joke, and the idea is that these amazing players will play it against people and beat them anyway because they're just that good. The reason it's bad is because it sort of flies in the face of every everything in chess that is logical. There's that word again, logic. I'll talk about it now because it's in the same category. But as you can see here, there is a bit further along Hikaru / Botez / Chessbra, etc., and then Danya, Agadmathor, and Feingold, etc. These, I've only really split them based on vibe, but what they are, these are a bit like Gotham Chess, right? So they are YouTube chess creators. The ones on the left, Hikaru, Botez, Chessbra, and others, you've got Anna Kramling, Anna Maya, correct? I can't quite remember the last name, unfortunately. There are quite a few, but these are the big sort of entertainment chess streamers and YouTubers. They will do a lot of educational things too. Chessbra in particular, they have done a series called Building Habits. If you're new, oh my god, watch that series. That series took me from like rating 400 to 1200 within like a month. It was ridiculous. It's an amazing series. And what they talk about, what these streamers talk about, is often the logic of chess, and especially in this Building Habits series, it talks about, you want to command the center. You want your pieces active, which means you want your pieces out and in the board. You want to castle. You want your king to be safe. And castling is a move where you sort of just tuck your king away in the corner and defend it with the rook. The reason why Bomb Cloud is so ridiculous is that it just flies in the face of all that. You've wasted a move, for one, that you could have done getting your pieces out and controlling the center. And secondly, now your king can't castle, because you can't castle if you've moved your king. And even worse, your king's in the bloody center. You've just moved it out of its defense, and you've essentially just invited everyone to come along and beat the ever-loving shit out of your king. But I digress. The point is that Bomb Cloud is just a bit of a meme opening. It's a joke, and you'll see it. If you watch some videos, you'll see it. These streamers like Hikaru, like I just mentioned, they'll do it for entertainment. And if you ever want to try it, go for it. If you're at a low elo, if you're a beginner, other beginners, they probably don't know how to punish it. They probably don't know how to make good on this waste of a move and this terrible move. So maybe you'll beat them and you can feel good about yourself. Who knows? Anyway, on to the next part. Okay, en passant. This is a fancy little move. It's essentially a way that you can take a pawn in a way that looks wrong. It looks so weird. I'm not here actually. I'm not a good enough editor to just throw in images and videos, and you can Google this if you really want to know what it is. But essentially, the idea is that pawns, if you think the game rugby, if you know how that works, I like to think of it as pawns are playing rugby, right? And in rugby, you can only pass backwards. You can't just have someone walk past the other person's line, the other team's line, and you can't just chuck the ball to them. And in that respect, pawns can't just skip past the line, right? They kind of charge towards each other. And you'll notice that for a pawn to get past each other, it essentially has to offer a trade with another pawn. It goes up to it, pawns take diagonally. So it goes next to a pawn diagonally. And what it does is it essentially says to the other pawn, hey, here I am. You can either take me, you can ignore me, or you can just move on past me. And once they move past each other, those two pawns will never ever touch diagonally again, ever. And that's just how the game works. But if you know anything about how chess works really at all, a pawn's first move, it can move twice rather than just once. And if it does that and it ends up next to an enemy pawn, so rather than it being diagonal, it ends up next to the pawn. What happens is it just skipped that pawn, right? It didn't offer a trade. It didn't say, hey, look, here I am. It just went right past it. And because of that, it's not allowed. It's not in the rules. I don't really know why, but believe me, it works and it makes the game better. What the other pawn can do is say, now hold on, sir, you didn't offer me a trade, so what I'm now going to do is take you anyway. And what it does is it imagines that the pawn didn't move 2 squares but only moved 1, and then it moves to the square that the initial pawn would have been on if it only moved 1, and manages to take the pawn that moved initially in passing, right? You're going to really want to watch a video on this just to see what I'm talking about. But what happens is essentially one pawn tries to jump past the other, and the other just sort of skips behind it and takes it in passing, which is what en passant means. You might hear many variations on this, on peasant, en passant. You know, there's a lot. I don't know. It's just a word to fuck around with. On to the next one. Okay, so the next part is Hikaru, Botez, Chessbar, etc. I already did these. Yeah. Oh, but explaining in more detail. Okay, so Hikaru, Botez, Chessbar, this is, you know, you're starting to watch more YouTube of chess, or Twitch maybe, and these guys are streamers, they're YouTube channel, they're content creators, and they create a lot of fun and entertaining content. To the right, you have Danya, Agadmator, and Feingold. They also create some fun content. I'm thinking in particular Danya, you know, a lot of kind of entertaining stuff. But these guys, I'd say, have a more intense focus on educational, right? When you're getting more into it, you're kind of like, you're actually thinking, maybe, you know, maybe I actually want to be good at this game. And watching, especially chess browser building habits, but watching like entertaining videos will help you improve, but so will watching educational videos. They will actually like really sort of start teaching you stuff. Danya does these like masterclass series. Once you get quite good, I'd say start off with like Gotham Chess and Chessbro, but once you like really starting to understand the game, start watching like Danya's masterclass videos. They are absolutely fantastic, and you know, you can really get quite ahead of them. I don't watch Agadmator. He's like the OG chess content creator, so respect to him. He was the biggest chess channel, and he still creates fantastic content, I'm told. I never got around to watching him. Feingold as well, I don't watch, but he also does a lot of educational and quite fun content. So maybe give him a look. Give him a look if you're looking to be that kind of next step in your chess journey. So next up, we have, what do we have? We have the draws. This is a fun one. So essentially, I'm just googling so that I don't miss one. There are multiple ways to draw in chess. One is by agreement. This is literally just where the two players, and you can do this online and you can do this in person, you say to the other person, hey buddy, this is fucking bollocks, what are we doing with our lives? How about we just have a little draw and it's equal, it's a tie, you know? And the other person can either say, no thank you, I want to keep playing, or yeah, sure, it's a draw. And then neither of you win, right? It's a nice little draw. The ELO remains the same unless they're significantly better or worse than you, in which case it might change a little bit. You know, like if I'm meant to be much better than you and we draw, you're going to gain like 1 or 2 ELO. It's going to be like, okay, well, you know, you did good for drawing. But that's drawing by agreement. And that usually happens really when you reach a position and you're both just about good enough to know that this is going to be a draw. When players start getting quite good at chess, they start to recognize positions that are drawn, which means that no matter what you do, you're gonna draw, and they stop. You know, they just say, okay, stop. So the other draws are stalemate. This is where the opponent has no legal moves. So the easiest way to imagine this is you've taken all their pieces except for their king, and you're trying to checkmate him. And so you trap him in a box. You're like, I'm going to trap him in a box so he can't move. And then the next move, I'll put my like queen or whatever piece and attack it. And he can't move, he can't escape. And so that's checkmate. What you need to be careful of is that if they can't move, game's a draw. And it doesn't feel fair at first, but the more you play, the more it just sort of clicks, the more it just makes sense that you think they can't move, and they're not allowed to move anywhere that their king will now die, basically. Where essentially you've blocked off the king from going anywhere, but you're not killing him, right? You're not pointing like a queen his direction or a bishop or anything. So that king is like, okay, well, I'm not dead, but I can't move, so I'm just not gonna move. And then you're stuck there forever because he legally can't make a move and you can't take him. So until it's your move, but you never will because they can't make a move. It's a stalemate. It sucks. And it often happens accidentally. And believe me, when you get into chess, this hurts. This really hurts. I cannot tell you how mad I was just this one time where he was playing so annoyingly. I digress. The other draws. So we've had agreement, stalemate, threefold repetition. This is an interesting one. This is where the same position happens 3 times in the game. You don't have to be worried about this normally because it just won't happen, right? Everything's moving, every piece is moving. But essentially, if the same exact position happens 3 times, different times in the game's a draw. And this is called repetition because what will often happen is you can like force this, or if you can't for some reason, like in person, often in tournaments they're not allowed to agree to a draw until like a certain time limit has passed. So instead they just do this, where you just shuffle your pieces back and forth. If I move my king left and you move your king left, and I move my king right and you move your king right, and we both do that again and again 3 times, it's a draw, because what you're essentially saying is we're stuck, we can't do anything. So that example I gave is when you both agree to do that. But a good example of this is when, let's say I'm losing, but I have my queen and your king is out somewhere where, you know, it's a bit weak. And what I do is I start like attacking, I start checking your king. I check it once and it moves up, and then I check it again and it moves down. And then you kind of realize, oh my god, he can keep checking me and I can do nothing but move up and down. Or I can do nothing but make a move that loses for me, make a really bad move. So what this means is that I'm going to force you to move back and forth, and it's a draw. And it's kind of a way to salvage a losing game. The next way is the 50 move rule. This is where you have made 50 moves each, and nothing has been taken. There's been no piece exchange, you haven't taken anything, and no pawn has moved. So if all the pawns are staying still, or there are no pawns, and you've both moved around for 50 moves without doing anything, it's a draw. And the reason for that is that usually it means that checkmate is impossible. So that is the final way to draw. This is called insufficient material. When, let's say we both have a king and I have a knight. Well, I can't checkmate you because I can't force checkmate you. You can move around. We can both move around for 50 turns, and I can never force you to lose the game with only a knight and nothing else. What that means is that we're going to draw because we're going to hit 50 points. What I mean to say is 50 moves without doing anything. So what generally happens online is it just ends. It just says, look, you've only got a knight. We're not going to do this whole Shazam of moving around for 50 moves. Nah, let's just give it up right now. It's over. It's a draw. We're done here. Okay. Scholars, oh my god, we are 4 minutes in. I need to move on. I need to start moving faster. Alright, Scholars, mate. We have the most famous checkmate, I would say, honestly. You're going to see this when you start off. This is a sort of, or is it the Fool's Mate? Scholars Mate, Fool's Mate, they're probably different. They're kind of the same. This is, you might have heard of people getting checkmated in like 2 moves or 3 moves, right? I think Fool's Mate is when you make the worst move possible, so they checkmate you in like 1 or 2 moves. It'd have to be 2, yeah, 2 moves. And then Scholar's Mate is when, you just play a bit normally and just make a mistake, essentially, by not reacting properly. And they mate you. And the way that they do it is they play pawn out and you play pawn out, because that's how most chess games work. And they bring out their queen and you go, whoa, no, that's scary. And so maybe you do something else and they bring out their bishop and you're like, hey, I'm a new player, I don't know what's going on, let me just move another piece. And then they checkmate you and you think, what the fuck? That's the Scholar's Mate, you can Google it. It's just a really quick, easy way to checkmate someone who doesn't know how to play chess. It's a bit mean, to be honest. People tend to do it to new players just to kind of throw them into the fire. They're like, hey, welcome to chess, bitch. This is the tough life. What the hell am I saying? It's chess. Again, like I said earlier, it's very hard to be cool when you're talking about chess. But yes, Scholar's Mate, give it a look. Now, the final part of this tier, just before we dip into the water, we have Charlie versus XQC. You might have seen this. It's a very watched clip, probably one of the most watched chess clips out there, I'd have to assume. And this is during a tournament that chess.com does called PogChamps. And in this tournament, Charlie, Moist Critical, you guys, I think is his name on YouTube, he plays against a very famous Twitch streamer called XQC. And what this tournament is it's fame, kind of like Twitch, YouTube famous people who haven't played chess much before. They get coached for like a couple weeks by someone like Hikaru or Botez or you know what I mean, like Daniel. One of these people on YouTube, they coach them, and then what they do is they play against each other to win a certain amount of money. And Charlie versus XQC is a very funny, very, very viral clip where XQC starts playing and he basically gets Scholars Mated, essentially. I don't think it's a Scholars Mate. I think it's kind of like a little trap. I think Charlie got told by Danya that XQC always plays the same opening and that there's a little trap he can do. And so Charlie, I think, does the trap, and it completely destroys XQC. It checkmates him in like 6 moves. It's devastating. The reason why the video is viral is it's very comedically timed. It's quite funny. Essentially, like Hikaru, I think, trained XQC, and they're starting the commentary. They're ready to sit down for like an hour. They're like, all right, let's go, XQC versus Charlie. And then they look and they're like, oh shit, he just blundered mate. And they're like, did Charlie, did he see that? Did he see that he can mate? And you just see Charlie, he's muted at this point, but he's on the screen and he's just cheering. He's got his hands up in the air. He's like, you can tell he's like whooping at the top of his lungs. And they tune in, they're like, oh god, and he finds it, he checkmates, and they tune in, and the guy famously says, my cock is throbbing. A lovely, lovely little quote there for you. But yeah, that's Charlie versus XQC. It's quite an entertaining clip. I recommend seeing it. Alrighty, so we're into the third tier. This, I think, is the most stuff in. I will try and go a little bit faster, I promise. But essentially, this is like, you've been playing for like a little bit, just a little bit. You've been watching quite a few videos. I'd say a few months, maybe 6 months or so, half a year. And you've been watching. Actually, you know what? I think I was at this point like a year in. I had seen enough, basically, that you're starting to get more into chess and you're starting to recognize more and more things. So first off is World Championships. I'll go into more depth. No, I'll go into more depth later. World Championships, these are the battles between the number one. Every year, the number one chess player plays against the number 2. And whoever wins becomes the new champion. And these are the World Championships. They're very entertaining games. There's usually they play about 12 games against each other, and it's whoever, wins the most. There's always some sort of like scandal or upset. Something happens. And by this point, you're too far in, right? You've dipped your toe in the water and you can't get out. it's too cold, you've got frostbite, and you realize, shit, I don't know how to swim. And now you're sinking. You're in the chess world, and trust me, by the time that you're looking at world championships, you're not getting out. These are long games. These are like classical games. They last hours, and if you have them, at this point, I'd say by the third level, you're just watching like Gotham Chess's recaps. But we've got you. You're here now. You can't leave. On to the next one. COVID handshake. You have got to look this up. Famously, I think just type in, is it Farouja or Ali Reza? I think it's Ali Reza. Type in on YouTube like Ali Reza handshake, or even just chess awkward handshake. And what this refers to is that during COVID, people were still playing chess, but they were wearing masks, and they were like, do we shake hands? Can we do that? And the answer is no. They were like, no, let's not shake hands. But chess players spend their whole life sitting down and shaking the other person's hands, kind of weirdly and limply, but whatever. They shake their hand and then they play. So they have this habit. So what happens is, especially in this video, but in others too, I think it's Ali Reza. He goes to the board and the other person offers, or maybe Ali Reza offers a handshake. And the other person, thinking that, oh no, we're in COVID times, goes for like a fist bump. He's like, oh, let's just do a fist bump. Looks up, sees that he's doing a handshake, and he's like, oh shit, handshake. So goes for a handshake, right? And then Ali Reza is like, oh, we're doing a fist bump. So he goes for a fist bump. And they're stuck. They're there for a solid 10 seconds, casting spells at each other with their hands, like little curses, like in The Witcher, like he does these little signs, and they're just trying to figure out, well, what do we do? And it's just so painful to watch, but so funny. And I don't know why that one tickles me so much, but yeah, give it a goog, give it a watch, and it happens a lot. It's understandable. Look, I mean, my experience is that often, if ever I kind of meet someone, you got to get the vibe from them. Do they want a handshake, or do they want you to dap them up? And depending on what you do, the result can be fucking catastrophic, mate. Trust me. On to the next one. 1600 hung a piece on move 6. This is a Gotham chess, chessism, I call it. Essentially, it was a Guess the Elo episode. I don't know if I have that as a thing here, but Guess the Elo is a video that if you're into chess at all, you'll probably have watched, where Gotham Chess, people will submit a game to him, he watches it, and then he guesses how good they are. He guesses their Elo. And oh my god, do you have some entertaining moments. Essentially, sometimes you have amazing players play terribly, or really bad players play great. Now, 1600, which is about my rating, is not meant to be hanging pieces on move 6. That is, you just give away a piece for free. It's called a blunder. You've just completely given it away. You don't get any compensation, which is tactical advantage. You've just lost a piece. And if you're doing that on move 6, you've messed up a bit. So he watched that video or the game, and he guessed I don't know, maybe 900. Just give it a goog. And he sees the elo and he just freaks out. He's 1600 hung a piece on move 6, and his reaction is fantastic. Someone then made a remix of it, a little kind of rap video, and all you got to Google is exactly that 1600 hung a piece on move 6, and he remixed it, and it went viral in the chess community. And now it's kind of a common thing to say, just in Twitch chats. Guys, I fucking hate Twitch chats. Let me make a little tangent. I've been trying to avoid tangenting this whole bloody time. I hate Twitch chat. They just spam the same thing again and again and again. It drives me crazy. I don't understand it. And I like watching streams on YouTube, when people upload them after they've done them. But my God, I look at it and it's just people. I don't get it. Anyway, look, whatever. 69, it's a thing, give it a look. And then the next thing is other Gotham chessisms. By this point, if you're in the third layer, you are starting to know a bunch of the chess memes. So other Gotham chessisms include rook takes e4. No. I'm talking bollocks. Rook. Gotham chess sometimes says, and he sacrifices the rook, and he like exclaims it, and people love it. They eat it up, and I admit I do it too. So that's a little chessism, Gotham chess. So is h4. I think he just shouts h4. There's a lot, there's a lot of little Gotham chessisms, and everyone's got their little thing. All these streamers, they have their own little stuff. Chess Bra, they often say like get him out of here when they beat someone. It's cute. Botez has the Botez Gambit, which I'll talk about in a moment. Hikaru says like I think Hikaru just often, like, before, without it being a meme, just used to say a lot like, oh, I don't care, I don't even care, like whatever, it doesn't matter, guys, I don't even care. So people kind of started making memes about it, saying like, oh, whatever, Hikaru just doesn't even care, that kind of thing. Give it a look. Botez Gambit, that's the next one. Ooh, I'm racing through now. Botez Gambit, this is when you hang your queen, you blunder it, you fuck up, your queen is gone, and you're like, oh, I want to cry, but it's a Botez Gambit, which makes it sound better. A gambit, because I haven't talked about them yet, is when you sacrifice a piece for some compensation, that being maybe space advantage or tempo, which is where your pieces are like out more, they've got more initiative, they're doing more stuff than the other person, so like they're lagging behind. There's a lot of reasons why you might do a gambit. Often I'd say it's for space. So at the beginning, like, people will just give you a pawn for free, but what you've done is you've given them like the center, which you might remember me earlier saying that you want to control. So that is what the Botez Gambit is. You lose your queen, but you just say, hey, it was a gambit, all right? It was intentional, and now I'm going to win because of this advantage. Really, what it probably means is you fucked up and you lost your queen, but it originates from the Botez sisters, I think in particular Alexandria, I'm not sure, Botez. She kept hanging her queen and was just like, it's the Botez Gambit. It really caught on, and it's cute. I like it. I say it. I won't lie. Gambits, just explained. Let's go. Openings. So at this point, we're in the Gambits openings endgame sections. Yeah, this is you're starting to learn. You're starting to think, hey, I've been playing chess for a while. I actually want to know what I'm doing. What is a gambit? What is an opening? What is an endgame? An opening is when your first few moves, essentially, and there are lots of different kinds. And when you prepare them, it's called prep. It's studying an opening. You are learning a way that the computer or people have figured out is a good way to start. There is no perfect way to play chess, but there are good ways, and there are lots of famous openings, the London, the French defense, the all sorts, and essentially what they are is you play a certain way, you'll play one move, they'll play one move, and then you'll have learned how to respond to that move. If you're thinking that, oh, okay, then do the best players learn essentially this unlimited, like if this, then this, if this, and this? Yes and no, they learn quite a lot. You can get up to I think I saw one Grandmaster 40 moves in was like, oh, it's still prep. That's insanity. Because if you think about it, there are so many possibilities with chess. You cannot memorize every single variation of every opening. So you're gonna, because look, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Is it 8? Yeah. There's 8, 16, 18. I think there are 20. I think there are 20 possible first moves, right? Now I figured that out in my head, so it might be wrong. But I think there are 20 possible first moves and 20 possible responses. What that means is you're already at an insane amount of variations. You can't memorize it all, but what you can do is discount some. You can say, it's like what I was talking about earlier. There are some moves they're not going to do because they're ass, because they suck ass, and you just don't want to play them. So you can count for that. Essentially, you're going to learn some openings at this point, and you're also going to learn some end games. Now, take a guess. Maybe English isn't your native language, so end games are the end. The end bit of this game that you're playing. Usually, it's when there are no queens or just queens, and there aren't many pieces left. And what you're doing is it's very precise. If you make any little mistake, you've messed up the whole game. Now, in the mid game, the opening, you can mess up and think there's a lot of game to play. You might blunder even like a queen at the start, and yet you have so many pieces, you can maybe trick him and get some back. If you only have like a couple pieces left and you lose one, it's over. Like, anyone who knows what they're doing is gonna beat you. So endgames are difficult, but there's a lot of theory there, a lot of things you want to learn. But you will, so don't worry. That's endgames. On to the next thing, chess boxing. Okay, chess boxing. Right, we're back to it. So, chess boxing was a big event. It was Ludwig, the streamer. You might have heard of him, you might not have. He's very big, I think. And he was in a chess tournament called PogChamps, which I've briefly mentioned before. And, it's where they get these streamers, they all battle it out. It's very entertaining, very funny. I think they've done 5 now. But he was one of the OGs, as they say, those people. He was one of the first people to take part in this, and I think he really took to chess. I think he quite enjoys it. So he throws this whole event called chess boxing, and it was fucking ridiculous. It was where chess players, they'd get like kind of chess, either grandmasters or international masters, and they would fight each other in the boxing ring for I think maybe 5 minutes, and then like a chessboard would like come down from the heavens and land in this middle of the ring. They would play some chess, and then it would get pulled back up by these wires, and they fight again. And it kept going until either, I think, kind of just one of them gets knocked out, or pointed out. I don't watch boxing, can you tell? But it was very entertaining. I know that GM Aman Hambleton took part. He's one of the members of Chessbra. He fought against an English fella. I don't quite remember his name. But there were a lot of events. Andrea Botez of the Botez sisters against some... Damn it, what is her name? I don't know. But, it was a big event. It was very entertaining. It brought a lot of new kind of people looking into chess, because it's such an appealing name, isn't it? Chess boxing. Like, you have to know what that is, right? So that was chess boxing. It was a very successful event, I think. And on to the next thing. The Immortal Game. This was a phenomenal game that you just need to look up if you're at this point. So you might, have just been new into chess if you're watching this. So this might not interest you very much, but I think Gotham Chess did a video on this that will make it interesting for you. And what it is the most amazing game, which once you know how to play chess and you know some of the nuances, this man, he plays this game where he sacrifices like everything on the board, like every single piece he has, to force a checkmate in such a beautiful way that will be so difficult to calculate that chess players just absolutely go crazy for it. It's called the Immortal Game because I think it will never be forgotten. I could be wrong. Give it a goog. On to the next thing. Chess 960. Chess 960. This is a form of chess. It's a different version of chess, right? Which might sound weird, but essentially Bobby Fischer, who's the next thing along, so I'll talk about him now as well. He was an American grandmaster. He was a phenomenal chess player, and he came in around the time that Russia is completely dominating chess. This is the Cold War. America is in this kind of like huge dick measuring competition with Russia. I don't know why I'm explaining the Cold War, but I'm going to assume you know what happened. And one aspect of this was, the intellectual battle. Who's got the superior intellect, the space race was kind of part of this, and this is Bobby Fischer versus someone. I really should know the name of who he played, but he becomes the world champion for a year, and kind of is the first American world champion in chess, and everyone's going crazy, and it's like, this guy's so amazing. And there are other facets to this man that I'll get into later, but Chess 960 happens when, you might remember me saying, every number one chess player kind of goes mental, and Bobby Fischer got a bit sick of this game, so he thought, I want to have some fun, I want to change it up, so he creates Chess 960. And you know what? I'm just going to double check this because I think he made it, and if he didn't, that's going to be incredibly embarrassing. I'm right. Fischer Random Chess is another name for it. So yeah, Bobby Fischer, he makes this, and essentially what it is the pawns are in the same place, but the pieces behind it are almost completely randomized where they are. You have the same amount of pieces, 2 bishops, 2 rooks, 2 knights, but where they are is almost completely random. And I say almost because there's a couple caveats. For example, the king has to be in between 2 rooks so that it can still castle. And that's kind of it. I don't play this version, but yeah, he did this because he was sick of people coming in, having all these openings I talked about earlier, and just learning stuff, and he was like, this is boring, I mean, to be fair, if you're number one and you can calculate as much chess as he can, you probably would get bored. You'd be like, I'm doing the same thing every day and I know more than everyone. This is insanity. And so he did this, and he liked it. I think some people like it, some people play it. It's a good way, I think. I imagine it's a good way to practice tactics. But yeah, that's that and Bobby Fischer. On to puzzles. Puzzles are something you're going to be doing at this point. You're going to be playing more puzzles. These are this is when, like, chess.com is where I know puzzles from. It'll give you a scenario, right? It'll throw you into the middle of a game and say, you have a way to win here. Either win material, which is like pieces, or win by like checkmating, or just something. You can do something here that's good, try and find it. And that's it. That's what a puzzle is. It's good. On to the next thing. Oh no, my queen. This is a YouTuber who I don't think I've mentioned yet, Eric Rosen. He's sort of the, those, I don't know, guys, some people I meet are just so lovable, right? Like, you meet them for like the first time and you just think, you are so sweet and nice, and I don't know if anyone could ever hate you. And you find out often that that's wrong and this person has kind of a secret side to them. But sometimes you just find people who literally no one hates them. Everyone likes them. And Eric Rosen is kind of that. Everyone in the chess world that is, big in the chess, every YouTuber, every streamer, they all know Eric Rosen and they all quite like him. He's really nice. He's very funny. He does a lot of good in educational videos. And one of his little chessisms, like with the Gotham chess, is "Oh no, my queen." And this really has picked up. A lot of people say this. A lot of YouTubers say it. Eric says it a lot. And this is when he sacrifices his queen in exchange for checkmate. So he'll give it away and he'll go, "Oh no, my queen." And that way you're like, oh shoot, did he blunder? No, he had a checkmate if they take it. And it's pretty good. If he says, also this works for any other piece, oh no, my pawn, oh no, my knight, it's all lies. It's all lies. They're lying to you. So yeah, that's what that is. Candidates is the next one. Candidates is or are the people who will challenge or want to challenge the current reigning champion. So every year there's a tournament or a bunch of tournaments, and the winners of those, the people who do the best there, become the candidates. And the candidates then have their own tournament called the Candidates, and they play against each other. Whoever wins overall, whoever gets the most points and then smashes everyone, has earned the right to play the world champion. They will now play against the world champion in that world championship I spoke about earlier. It is very intense. It's very you might not think it, but these people spend months and months prepping for these few games. They literally have to learn so much theory, and it is exhausting to even watch. But it's fun. We all like it. It's quite. I quite like it. I don't know anything else like. I'm quite boring, so I don't really look at much other things other than like history, right? And chess, which might make me out to sound like some sort of alt-right incel online, but no, believe me, I don't have a over fascination with World War II. I promise you. I just like chess and history, but also football and also rugby. But look, that's not the point. I'm not talking about myself. What I'm trying to say is that I don't know a lot of other sports that have this thing where like the best play against each other to earn the right to challenge the top dog, which is quite a fun little chess thing. Next is Stockfish. This is a computer program. You might have heard that computers are very good at chess now. There came a time when, computers were invented, and then people started making them play chess, and initially they weren't actually that good until eventually this computer comes along called Deep Blue, and that plays against Garry Kasparov. It's a big game. I'll talk about it later. And he lost essentially to this computer, and that marked the moment when people were like, oh look, damn, computers are better at chess than us. If you want to take that further and say computers have overtaken us in intelligence, yeah, I've said before, man, chess isn't really the determinant of intelligence, but it is the determinant of ability to calculate ahead. So look, computers, yes, they are amazing at chess. And Stockfish is currently the best. It is currently the computer that chess.com uses to analyze your games. There's different versions, but the most recent, which is like Stockfish 15 or something, absolutely wrecks ass. Like, it is insane. Like, if we rated it, it would be like 3,200 or something ridiculous. It is incredibly good. You won't beat it. I will never beat it in my life. No human will ever beat it in their life. I would bet a lot on that. But there's actually more competition than people think. There's a lot of different computer programs that are trying to be the best, and I think it's quite a fun thing for computer programmers to do, is try and program a computer that can calculate as far ahead as it can. Yeah, there's one called Leela. There's one called Torch, which is quite new. Give it a look. Give it a goog. Give it a goog. I'm going to try and stop saying that. Up next is Zugzwang. Zugzwang is when you can't move, but you can, but you can't. This is a move not a move. This is a thing in chess. Let me think. Sometimes get it confused with this other thing called Zwischenzug. But no, Zugzwang, I believe, is when you're in a position, right, where every move is bad. Or the opponent is in a position where every move is bad. And when you're in a position where you can move, it's not stalemate, but no matter what you do, it is shit. That's called Zugzwang, and it sucks ass because you're just desperately looking for a move that's good. They all suck, and this often happens in the endgame when you're trying to force your opponent to make that one mistake that loses the game, and you can get them to do that. Often, there's one pawn that they need, and you've pushed their king into a place that the only place he can move it is away, is to not defend it. And there's no good move, and that is Zugzwang. There's also a move called, a thing called Zwischenzug. Zwischen? Yeah, well, look, it's not the language that I know. And don't fucking anyone come after me. Fucking bilingual assholes, alright? Zwischenzug, that means in between move or something like that. What it means is in between move. That's what it kind of denotes. It is when you make a move that kind of you want to do something. Let's say you want to take a piece, right? But you can also get away with doing a move in between it. So let's say you've trapped a piece, it can't move anywhere, and you're going to take it. You can then, instead of taking it, do something else. Do something in between. Have a bit of fun. Because that piece isn't going anywhere, it's trapped. And that's called Zwischenzug. You've kind of done a little in-between move. It's you're starting to get a bit better at chess. You're starting to do things like it. Maybe you've won a piece and you're like, let me just attack the king first so I can get into a good position, and now I'll take it. And it's even better than taking straight away. It's very fun. We're going deeper. All right, so we've taken out the most filled level, the level with the most things. We're into the fourth level now, and you're quite deep. You know, you're getting in there. At this point, you know, you go to sleep, and just as you're drifting off, suddenly a chess position appears in your head, and you start moving things around. Often it doesn't even not even full positions because you're not that good. All right, we're not that good, but you're kind of just seeing things. And like, oh, the knight could go here and fork it. And you're like, what the fuck was that? Anyway, that's where you are. Tactics, tactics, tactics. That's the first one. This is where you're starting to drill tactics. Tactics are these things where, you know, you've got pinned pieces, right? Where you like attack a piece, but it can't move because it's in front of an even more important piece, like the king, perhaps. You've got forks and skewers and discovered attacks, you know, all these names for moves where you're doing like special little things, special little stuff. You know, I think that Zwijan probably counts as one of these, where tactics are where you play normally you play normally. You know, most of the time you play logically. This thing I was talking about earlier, you play in a way where, you know, believe it or not, chess players, we don't calculate 50 moves ahead. We just calculate like 3 most of the time, but play a move that is like mostly, you know, you just know it's going to be good. You're like, this is a logical move. This is good. I feel it in my bones. So that's what mostly happens. But tactics are when you're starting to actually like think ahead. You're actually, you know, you're going from calculating 1, 2, 3 moves ahead to like maybe 5, 6, up to like 10. I'm not going to lie. You get some real good calculators out there at this level, but I'm talking like at this level. If you go even further to like grandmasters, they calculate crazy lines, but you're thinking, all right? You're doing all these little bullshit things to fuck with your opponent, and it works, and it's fantastic. That's where you are. We're going now into Martin. We're not going into Martin, I hope not. This is a bot. This is the lowest rated bot on chess.com. I believe he's at a rating of 250. And you kind of can't lose to him. He's kind of impossible to lose to unless you literally play the worst moves. I have lost to him once by like demonstrating to a mate what the worst. He was like, "What is the worst move in chess you can play first?" And I was like, "Oh, it's probably like this and this." And I was showing him against Martin, and Martin checkmated because it's that bad a first move that even this terrible bot can beat you. But yeah, the reason why this guy's down here is because at this point, he's just a meme, you know? People just fuck around with him. You know, you'll find videos that are like, can I beat Martin with 1 knight? And he has like 50 queens. That sounds ridiculous. And either way, it works. You know, like, he can never win. The poor guy is just relentlessly getting bullied. But, you know, if you've started chess and you beat Martin, you feel good about yourself, well, don't feel too bad for him, because eventually you're going to come across Emir and cry. You're gonna cry. Right, next. Il Vaticano. This one is a strange one. This is where an online community, which I'll talk about now. There is a website called Reddit. You might have heard of it. It's a social media website. And I don't use it myself, but people who kind of pop onto it now and again, or people who use it religiously, they sometimes play chess. And so little communities form on this website. One of them is called r/chess. And that's about boring old chess. You know, the usual kind of stuff, and everyone doing just chess talk. There's also one called r/anarchy chess. And that is where that's where like a lot of these memes come from. You know, people are kind of just fucking around. It's not a very serious subreddit. People are just kind of coming up with fun little things, fun little stuff about chess. And one of them is Il Vaticano, which is actually quite funny. It's a bit like en passant. It's a bit like castling, right? These are like special little moves you can do. Things where you can't, really explain why they're allowed to a new player other than they just are, right? You just can do en passant. You just can castle. And then someone on Anarchy Chess thought, wouldn't it be funny if we gaslight people into thinking, or mostly trick new players into thinking Il Vaticano is a move? And this is one where I believe it's that if there is a piece and that there are 2 bishops, like your bishops, are on either side of that piece, and it's your turn, you can like swap them, right? Basically keep them where they are, but swap them and take the piece in the middle. It's a bullshit move. It's not real, but they've it's quite funny. You know, they're just trying to convince people of new little things, little bits of tomfoolery. That's a fun word. What other words are there? I don't know. Look, point is, if anyone tries to tell you Il Vaticano is a thing, well, they probably won't. That joke is quite dead by now, so that's why it's a bit further down, because if you know about it, you've gone quite far into chess. Lucena position. This is a very important theoretical position. It's an endgame, and it's about rook and a pawn and winning, and it's apparently the most important. Blah, 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 blah. Look, you're not really here to learn how to do stuff. I'm just kind of telling you the rough outline of things, and then you will hopefully Google them if you're interested and find out more. But the Lucena position, if you're new to chess, or if you kind of I'd actually recommend this if you're kind of getting further into chess. You need to know it. You need to know it off by heart. It's a really important position, which is essentially just a very common one where you have a king, a pawn, and a rook, and the opponent has a king and maybe a rook. Yes, a king and a rook. And yeah, you win. Basically, it's just you win. And if you don't know it, you won't win. So there you go. Learn it. VODs. This is videos of streams. I don't know why it's a D at the end, but the point is that at this point, if you're watching VODs, you are watching hours of chess. You are putting hours and hours of chess on in the background. In fact, the next thing is live classical games. Guys, you're deep in the water, all right? I said before that we had you, but if you're watching live classical games and VODs, these are hours of chess that, like, when I first got into chess, I was not watching this. I was like, bro, I do not want to watch 3 hours of a man just sat there with like a little bit of music in the background going, like, just making moves, right? I don't really know what that was. That was meant to be the chess pieces moving. Look, this is just a demonstration of where you are. You've gone too far. You've gone too far. And we're just going to keep steaming ahead because now you cannot stop. Up next is Game 6, Magnus versus Nepo. That is short for Nepomniachtchi. That is a Russian player. He challenged Magnus in after winning the candidates. He went to the World Championship. He challenged Magnus, and they had such an amazing battle. For about 5 games, I think it was draw, and they were really like good draws, you know, like they were kind of battling it out. And Game 6 comes along, and you have the longest game on record for a World Championship. And what happens is Nepo and Jan Nepomniachtchi and Magnus Carlsen, they play so long that you're like, this can't be like good chess though, right? For this long, and it is. You analyze it with a computer, it's like they are playing like some amazing, almost perfect chess for like 100 moves, and then Jan makes like a slight error, and it just wrecks the man because Magnus manages to get this like small advantage and slowly just flip the table and just crush Nepo, slowly strangling him like some sort of cobra. Do they do that? I don't know. Look, it is brutal, and it was hard to watch because when these guys sit there for hours, like their brains just aching with the amount of effort they're putting into with tactics and calculations, and then they lose like that. It was such a good game. If you're getting into chess, maybe watch a recap of it. It's just beautiful, really. Up next, and we're getting controversial now, as I am prone to do in every fucking conversation. Look, this is the Russia-Ukraine letter. Russia, if you didn't know, invaded Ukraine recently, and it's fair to say it's a little controversial, little bit unpopular move there by many non-Russians. And it's I'm not gonna get into it. It's a nuanced issue. Nothing is as simple as it seems, but look, regardless of the situation, the invasion of a sovereign nation is something to be frowned upon. So, Russia invades Ukraine, and a lot of major Russian players, like really quite major, I think Jan Nepomniachtchi, who was even part of this, they all signed a letter. And it was saying essentially, look, you've got your reasons, but we've been playing with the Ukrainian team for a while. We are Russian people, and Russia and Ukraine has a lot of cultural ties, which is part of the argument you hear for pro-Russianists who say, Ukraine is basically Russian, it's ours, right? But I don't know if the Ukrainians if they believe that. But so they sign this letter and they say, Putin, you're being a naughty boy. Please stop right now, and we're going to leave. And they do, and they leave. And they kind of leave Russia and they say, we're not playing for you anymore. Not that they can. FIDE, the chess owners, the people who run most of the competitions, they have banned people from playing under the Russian flag, but they can play under, I just think it's like a FIDE flag now. It's tough, and that's a whole issue of its own, whether or not you should punish athletes for what their nation has done. But yes, Russia invades Ukraine, a bunch of, I'm not kidding you, some real bloody good hard-hitting players have left Russia now and condemned it. And it's this far down because you probably haven't heard of it if you're not into chess, but it was pretty big when it happened. And it was actually, look, you can take a guess my stats on this war. I'm in the West. I grew up in the West, and I do not agree with it. But it was nice to see, because the chess world is a very diverse one, and it's one that gets controversial, as it should. Everyone is, has the right to their own opinion. And when cultures clash, when you've got loads of Americans, right, and British people and Europeans playing a game that is incredibly popular in India and China and not really Japan, but also the Eastern Europe and the Baltics and Russia, you get lots of people suddenly talking who have very different views. And it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. I think often I've seen it actually be quite a good thing, because while we get a lot of clashing in the chess world, you also get a lot of compromise. A lot of people who, what you tend to see online and in the world these days is you've got the West and you've got the East, and they're all arguing all the time, and they're like, no, the West is hypocritical and the East is evil and all this crap, right? But in the chess world, when it gets down to it, you often see quite a pretty little meshing of culture, of people saying, look, we're not perfect, you're not perfect, but let's fucking hate each other over a game instead of insert countless other things. So now we are on to the Polgar sisters. I was about to say we get to tone down the controversial topic, but this is also quite controversial. Polgar sisters, they are some of the best female chess players out there. Judith Polgar in particular, they are Hungarian, and they are incredibly good at chess. Judith Polgar is, I think she reached the highest rating of a female chess player, or she was the highest at her peak at that time, and she's incredibly good. The reason why this is controversial is, believe it or not the woman thing, right, which is a controversy. There will be people who will talk crap, but that's whatever. That's not the point. The point is that her father essentially kind of said that it was an experiment, right? He was like, I want to prove that any young girl, any woman, can become an expert in things if they start from birth or start from a very young age. And I think that Judith Polgar's oldest sister, I'm afraid I don't know the other two's names. There were three of them. Might have been Sophia. But she said that when she was 4, she used to play with the chess pieces as toys, and then she chose chess. She said, I want to be a chess player. So Dad said, okay, let's go. And he raised these two kids, homeschooled them. It was controversial apparently at the time. People were like, you're ruining their lives. But these people, they grew up and they became amazing chess players. Received a lot of hate just because of life, I guess because they are women, and I also think they're of Jewish descent, so, combine it. And there you go, there's your controversy. But the man himself, the father, it is a bit controversial, actually, because I think even after this, he intended to adopt a young African child. He wanted to adopt a young black child so that he could prove that race has nothing to do with it. And, honorable intentions, right? Like, hey, the chess world is very elitist. I want to prove that both women and other ethnicities, we'll say, can play chess at a very high level. And don't get me wrong, I think he's right, but I don't know if that's the right method. If adopting a young child because of their ethnicity and saying, I'm going to make this man a chess prodigy, and that will prove, like, I don't know if that's needed. Hopefully there's enough evidence out there, I would say, that ethnicity and gender are not signs of intelligence, unless you unless you're a racist, I guess. But look, fundamentally, right? Like, even most racists these days will talk about instead culture. They'll say they don't like a culture, or they don't like the way people are raised in a certain country, and say that they disagree with their views. Not many now believe that, like, naturally they are born to be inferior, right? That's a very eugenics approach. It's very untrue, very proven to be untrue, but people will still kind of purport it. They'll kind of try and say it because, to be honest, people who say that, they usually have something they're trying to sell. So there's that. There's the Tad, got even more controversial somehow. He ended up not doing that, probably for the best. And yeah, at the end of the day, like, there are plenty of women who are incredibly good at chess, plenty of every ethnicity who are very good at chess. It's a very diverse game, like I said. But we'll continue. We'll move on before I dig myself into a hole. And we have moved on to a Chinese game. I do not know what this game is. I don't have much detail. I believe, forgive my pronunciation, I believe it's pronounced something like Xiangqi, right? Or Xiangqi, something like that. And it is a Chinese game that is similar to chess. If you see it, you're like, oh, it's like Chinese chess, right? But I believe that's a bit of a simplification. I think it's its own thing. Might have had a similar origin, but it is very much its own game. It's quite different. It's quite difficult, I assume. It's quite good. It's quite good. And I am actually going to check. I believe it's Chinese, but my concern is that there is also a Japanese variant. No, yeah, this is the Chinese one. There's also a Japanese. I don't believe that it is anywhere further down. No. There's also a Japanese variation called shogi, which is very popular in Japan, and they don't really play chess. In China, they have xiangqi, but they don't not play chess. They also play a lot of chess, because believe it or not, there's a lot of Chinese people. So the Chinese people are very varied, very, very, very different interests, you'd think, for that many people to all be into the same thing. So no, they have chess players. In fact, the current world champions, plural, are Chinese. You've got the Ding Liren. He is the current men's chess champion. And you also have, I'm just Googling because I don't want to get her name wrong. You have got Zhu Wenjun and her challenger Li Tingjie. Probably horrific pronunciation, but Yu Wenjun won, I believe. I think she's the world champion, and she's also from China, I believe. So that is Xiangqi. It's a variation of chess. I don't know it. You'll have to Google it. Stafford Gambit. This is a gambit, and the reason why it's distinct from the other gambits is that it is Eric Rosen's gambit. It's a not very good gambit. Hold on. Don't get mad at me if you do know chess. It is a theoretically not great gambit. I believe that it is theoretically beatable. but it is a very tricky gambit. It is a gambit that has loads of little quirks to it that you can fall into. And Eric Rosen is the master of the Stafford Gambit. He might be an international, like an IM, which is below Grandmaster. He's an IM, but he is a GM at the Stafford Gambit. He's fantastic. And yeah, that's it. That's just that's it. On to the next thing. I already did this. Why is the mortal? You know what? I think I meant. I don't know why that's there, but Opera Game is next to it, and so we'll talk about that instead. I think, should the Immortal Game be here? Maybe. I think at this point is when you'll start getting into things like the Immortal Game. I think maybe the initial Immortal Game is too high up, but Opera Game is another game, and it's good. I don't remember anything about it. I think it is a game that was played at an opera, and I believe it was like a really good game where someone got their pieces out really quick and they just overwhelmed the opponent really quickly. And it's at the time when chess hadn't been developed to the point that it has now because we have computers. So it sort of made the world realize, oh dear God, this man got demolished. We need to get our pieces out faster. Give it a goog. Next up. Whew. All right, those are the two biggest sections complete, ticked off. So now we can sit back, we can relax a bit. This has probably got very long already. I'm imagining about an hour and a half or so. So we're gonna take a little break here. I'm gonna drink some water, and I will get back right back. I'll be right back. Okay, I have had my break. I've had my massage and yogurt, as Ultratex would say. We are now on to the fifth rung of this iceberg. This is quite far down, and you are really getting into it now. Like you've been playing chess for a while. We're starting to get some wild theories here. So Bobby Fischer was a nutter, right? At this point, if you listen to chess, you'll have seen a lot about Bobby Fischer. He's controversial because people like to quote him a lot, right? They like to say, well, Bobby Fischer said that insert this, and this. So, Bobby Fischer said this wise thing, and Bobby Fischer said this other very wise thing. But he also said a lot of fucking mental things, including like some incredibly misogynistic and xenophobic, anti-Semitic, pick a phobia, whatever you want. He's probably said something about it. The guy went nuts, all right? And like, you're welcome to your own opinions about all the things he talked about, but generally when you're on all of them, when you're incredibly misogynistic and racist and homophobic, actually I'm gonna retract that one. I haven't heard him say anything homophobic, but look, if you're collecting all the phobias, you might as well have that one. The guy got sick of chess. He represented America. He was America's like poster boy. Oh my God, look how good he is. Very, very suave young man. Very, very pretty, But he went a bit nuts. He doesn't like America, or didn't. He kind of fell out of love for America. He said that he hated it. Read Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, and became a Nazi. He just decided, fuck it. I'm a fascist now. I don't like Jewish people, and he really didn't like women. Now, I don't know much about this, but I believe that he didn't like his mum. So, Freud, eat your heart out. The guy, had a real issue with his mother, and I think his mum might have been Jewish as well, or his dad maybe, someone. And so he kind of decides that Jews are evil, and women are stupid and evil and sluts, right? So incels, eat your heart out too. Like these guys are. Am I saying that phrase right? I don't know. I don't really care. Look, the guy said things like, I think famously you get a lot of trolls and misogynists online saying things like, I could give any woman in the world night odds and beat them. And look, at the time he was probably right, because he was fucking mental and incredibly good at chess. Nowadays, that's not true. I would confidently say, and I think you'd have the trolls and the misogynists disagree with me, but I'm pretty sure that the world women's chess champion would be able to beat him if he didn't have a knight. Although, look, chess has changed a lot. I won't get into it now. When we talk about who the best chess player in the world ever was, it's kind of between like 4 or 5 people. You've got Garry Kasparov, you've got Karpov, Magnus Carlsen is sort of like, the new one that people say is the best ever. Bobby Fischer. They're kind of the main ones, I would say. Maybe Anish Giri. Would anyone say no? No, I don't think. Look, I really respect Anish Giri, but I don't think anyone would say that. Look, what I'm trying to say is that like the reason it's controversial to say any of them are the best is that chess has changed so much. So when Bobby Fischer was the chess champion, we didn't have like openings like we do now. We didn't have computer-backed theory like we do now. And so some people try and claim like he was better because Magnus now has like computers helping him. But you got to understand, everyone has computers helping them. So Magnus is like dominating in this era of tech. Would he have dominated in an era without it? Maybe not. I don't know. You really couldn't say. Bobby Fischer dominated his era. Karpov and Kasparov, they both dominated. Everyone's sort of got their own era that they dominated, and they're all brilliant, all right, at chess. So I think it's a bit futile to argue about who was better, but Bobby Fischer was incredibly good, and he very much thought that women were crap at chess, which I believe he is being proven wrong about. And with more and more women getting into chess these days, I think it's a matter of time till we find like a real prodigy. So there will come a time, because if you're quite new to chess, I will warn you now, there is still a great deal of misogyny. And I don't mean to say this as the woke liberal that I'm sure many would call me. I'm literally just saying this as look at the stats. Women, the more women who get into anything, the better that women get at that thing. And with chess, this is not a physical activity. You can claim in a lot of sports that men are better because of biological things, but fundamentally you are saying that women are less intelligent, which a lot of men would. But I believe, give it time, you'll see. Maybe look, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. But we shall see. I think I'm trying to hit every controversial point I can in this video. We're not here to talk politics, but Bobby Fischer kind of made me. On to the next thing. Hitler. We're not talking about politics. Let's talk about Hitler. Right, Hitler game. This is a potentially mythical game. It is about Hitler versus Lenin. There was a sketch of it, and the family who owns the sketch is like, oi, this is true. I tells you, my nan told me, and her nan told her. That might be going a bit far back in generations, but look, apparently Lenin and Hitler played a game of chess, and fucking had a great time. I don't know what the game ended, who won, whatever. Look, it's mostly just a mythical thing, but hey, maybe it happened. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Napoleon, chess. Napoleon, he liked chess. He was a bit shit. He was alright, he was good, I think. He could beat me, I don't really know what he was playing at. But what I have seen is that reports are that he would get very angry if the other person was winning, and he'd like throw the board. I've heard that he was very impatient, so he'd start tapping and kind of like banging pieces down and being like, play faster. And what I really think, the reason I quite like this, the fact that he wasn't that good at chess, is that this man was a phenomenal general. He was one of the most successful generals in terms of victories. Fought a huge war against all of Europe, and kind of kicked ass for a while. And when people talk about who was the best tactical general in the world, Napoleon gets mentioned a fair amount. I'm not going to claim that I know if he's the best. I think Genghis Khan. You've got Friedrich the Great. You've got a lot of kind of people who were around who really kicked some ass. Alexander the Great. I don't want to skip him. Really some like impressive leaders But he wasn't that good at chess, and I think what that highlights is that chess is not intelligence. Please, dear God, people stop confusing it. He was a very intelligent man, and he wasn't that good at chess. It's a different thing. It's not like war. I've seen that when people are like, chess is a battle. It's not. It's nothing like it, man. Like, maybe it'll help you visualize things, but it's pattern recognition, you know? It's different. All right, let's move on. On to duck chess. This is a game mode. This is a fun little quirky game mode where every time you make a move, you put a duck on one of the pieces, or not on the pieces, sorry, on one of the squares, and nothing can move there or move through it. A knight can still jump over it, but nothing can move through it. And some people got really good at this. I think Eric Rosen absolutely kicked ass at duck chess. That's it. That's all you need to know about it. The reason it's here is because it's relatively less well known. That's really all I can say about it. Now, Toiletgate. This one I'm just gonna give a little goog because I want to get the names right. I do know what it's about. It's about the World Chess Championship in 2006. Here we go. Right, so it's between Vladimir Kramnik and Veselin Topalov, and they were both very good. They both are very good players. Kramnik in particular fucking kicked ass. All right. And the reason why this one was so crazy is that it's called Toiletgate because there was just so many weird things happening. It was absolutely mental. So in this World Championship, there was just so many quirks because essentially one of the chess players, every chess player, they have their little teams backing them, people who help them out. And in this one, basically what happened was in fact, you know what? I'm kind of confusing it with another, but this one also is a bit mental. What happened is Topalov alleged that Kramnik was using computer for assistance. You know, a computer. He was getting help from a computer, and the way that it said he was doing it was because he kept going to the toilet. He kept fucking off to the toilet and having a little shit, having a little squat, having a little piss. But maybe not. Maybe someone was feeding him computer assistance when he was in there. And I admit it was a bit weird that he kept going to the toilet as often as he did. But he kind of, I think he had diarrhea. I think the way he played, when you look at it, isn't too computery. But we'll see. You know, I don't know too much about that, so maybe that is worth a little bit more research on my part and yourselves. But yes, Kramnik was accused of using computer assistances, so he refused to play game 5 and forfeited, in which case Topalov won the game. But I don't actually think he fully forfeited. I think he eventually played. And Topalov took the lead, Kramnik struck back, he wins, and I think that he won the whole thing. I think Kramnik won this whole thing. So it's controversial. I don't really know. I can really tell you. It was a time mired in controversy because I think at this point FIDE and chess players were arguing a lot, and there were multiple world champions at the same time because FIDE would have a champion and there'd be Garry Kasparov got into a real little tiff with them. Yeah, so that's a thing. That's just something to know in the back of your mind that there was a brief period where the championship wasn't fully agreed by everyone. That's it. That's all it is for the Toiletgate. And now we are where I got confused. The 1978 World Championship. The reason I'm going to Google this is that I'm going to forget something because so much happened. This was a really weird game where Anatoly Karpov was playing Viktor Korchnoi, and he essentially they both kept accusing each other of wacky shit, but they were also both doing wacky shit. So Karpov included in his team, his little team of like people who help him, and usually they're just other chess players, right? People who will just go through games with you and be like, I have this idea and you can work on that, and they really help each other out, right? So Karpov then, instead of hiring another chess player on his team, he gets a noted Soviet psychologist and hypnotherapist. I don't remember his name. I think it was like Vladimir Petrovich Zuchar, something like that, right? Yeah, because I read this article recently. Yeah, there it is, Vladimir Petrovich Zuchar, and Korchnoi. He got the help from 2 American Ananda Marga yoga specialists. Who the fuck knows what that is? In fact, he gets the help of 2 yoga specialists who had recently been convicted of attempted murder and were released on bail. So there's a bit of controversy, but they were like X-raying chairs, they were protesting flags, and Korchnoi complained that the hypnotherapist was trying to hypnotize him. Crazy. I mean, Karpov, I think at one point as well, he got sent a blueberry muffin, and Korchnoi was like, "Oh, he didn't ask for that muffin. What's going on here? Why is there a blueberry yogurt? It wasn't a muffin. It was a blueberry yogurt. Yeah. Why is there a cheeky yog here?" And it was just ridiculous, you know. So essentially, it caused a lot of hoo-ha, a lot of people getting quite excited. They're like, "Ooh, what's going on here?" I don't really know who won. I'll have a little look now. But yeah, that's all you really need to know. And totally Karpov won, right? So Karpov wins this. Maybe due to hypnotizing. Who knows? It's weird. I don't really know why they both decided to just kind of go a bit mental. But yeah, on to the next thing. Charlie versus ZQC. Now that is a mistype. That is meant to say Charlie versus XQC. Only the best quality here on this huge channel of mine. Yeah, it's meant to say Charlie versus XQC staged. Basically, there's a theory that Charlie versus XQC was intentional. That the XQC intentionally lost in that many moves so that it would get attention and it'd be like, oh, how funny. I think it's bullshit. I don't think it was staged. It's very it's almost too good. You know what I mean? Like when things are too like perfect that they can't be fake. You like, this is the definition of you couldn't fake it. You know, you couldn't come up with it. It was just so good. And I think that if it was staged, like, XQC doesn't give me the vibe of someone who would do that. Not because of any honor thing. He just doesn't, you know, just doesn't give me the vibe. So yeah, that's. I also don't know the relationship between Charlie and XQC. Maybe they're friends. Fuck it, maybe it was staged. Who knows? We're moving on because I'm kind of losing it here. Hikaru's ceiling. This is another dumb theory that Hikaru can. He has a computer on his ceiling, or some sort of, like, his ceiling is a chessboard. And the reason why this is a thing is that every time he plays, when you see him, when good players get to like real hard calculation, they are so good that they just visualize it without the board. They look at the position for long enough that they know it, and then they're thinking, I need to calculate. So they just look away, right? Some look to the side, some look down. Hikaru just looks up. He kind of looks up to his ceiling, and he's thinking really hard. And only at my very peak of chess playing, when I've like had a couple coffees, can I somewhat do this. When I'm like really thinking about a position and I just like glance away so that I can think about it more, because for some reason that helps. But you got to be really good to do this. You got to really kind of be able to visualize, and they do it a lot because they're much better than me. And this theory is just that he has like a chessboard up there that is showing him the moves. I've seen it, you know, said around the place. Never seriously, but you might hear about that now and again. The Jerome Gambit. This is meant to say Jerome. I'm a fuckwit sometimes. Look, The Jerome Gambit is a gambit, and it has a whole story behind it, because the reason this is further down is that it's quite obscure. Chessbra, who I've mentioned a lot recently, they're not actually the biggest channel, right? Like, a lot of these chess channels have about 1 million subscribers now. Chessbra is about 500,000, so they're not small at all. But I think their main audience is on Twitch or Kick or whatever the kids use these days. So yeah, Aman Hambleton is one of the grandmasters there, and he discovers this gambit. It's called the Jerome Gambit. It appears like when you play chess.com, tells you what gambit you're playing. And I think it came up, and he was like, what the fuck is this? Because guys, it is a terrible gambit. It is really quite shit. I think you sacrifice like a whole piece or something, and it's so easy to like take advantage of if you're like a really good player. But here's the thing is that if you're Aman Hambleton, you can play this kind of shit. But he finds it, and he finds that someone online, there's a lot of like chess historians out there who just, it's really sweet actually. They just kind of find stuff and want to share it with others. So they're like, here is Jerome's Gambit. He finds some like guy saying, I've done some analysis and these players have played it. It's not very well known. Let me know if you discover any more about this opening or you develop it. So Aman sees it and he just falls in love. He just starts playing it so much and absolutely wrecking people. I'm finding actually some quite good variations. So he plays it a bunch. He emails the person with a bunch of games. It's like, here's some analysis for you. Have fun. And it's adorable. I mean, who doesn't love a good little story about a gambit, a chess gambit? Everyone loves that. So we are done now with this fifth rung, and we are getting into the final three. The final three rungs, they're both a bit, and we're at the point that either it's really kind of obscure or messed up or unknown, or it's just fucking ridiculous. Like the next one. Chess was invented by aliens. Angry face. You can see the angry face is there. I added that because I fucking hate this theory. I hate this theory with everything. With ghost stories, with ancient architecture. Anything where people are like, oh yeah, it was aliens, man. Oh, you fucking with me. That's so boring. Like, there's so much fun, like, origins to so many things and like mysteries, that if it's aliens, that is just so like sad. It's like, we're not capable of this. Come on. Now, the reason for this theory is that chess is like the perfect game, right? Like, it's unsolvable, and computers still can't solve it completely, and it can't have been made by a human. But I think it was, because it it gets made by a human, and it was very different originally to how we know it now. There wasn't castling, there wasn't en passant, there wasn't pawns moving twice in their first move. That all these little quirks, right, that had to be added in later to kind of make the game what it is now, because it wasn't perfect and it was kind of solvable-ish, and we've just sort of added in these things to sort of perfect it. And honestly, I think we got a bit lucky, but maybe the person who made it is just that genius. The story goes, and I'm gonna say this origin because I haven't included it for some reason, but I'll talk about the origin story. And the story is that it was invented somewhere, right? This is argued over. Was it in Egypt? Was it in India? I think most likely it was around, like, the Indian subcontinent. It was that kind of area of Southeast Asia. And the story is that there was like a king, a shah or whatever takes your fancy, and he was sick of his nation gambling too much. There was way too much gambling. He was sick of it. He was like, this is a sinful act, and it's all a bunch of bullshit, and it's all based on luck, and I don't like gambling. He probably lost his bet on Aston Villa the night before, so he was sick of it. He said, I want a game that is nothing to do with luck, nothing to do with I just played randomly, and I just won. But no, he wanted a game that was absolutely well and truly just 100% skill, and that if you thought hard enough, you would always win. And so he hires this fella. He makes the game. He makes chess, and he goes to the king. He's like, here you are, perfect game. And the king's like, oh, fuck yeah. Good game. GG. Love it. Everyone's happy now. But he wasn't, because he said, hey, Mr. Man, you need a reward. And he says, all right, well, what do you want? And the man says, hey, I would like. And this is the part of the story that is definitely bullshit, right? I mean, I don't know if there's any evidence for any of this, but this is kind of just the story. At this point, though, the man says, I would like a reward. I would like one bag of wheat or grain or rice or something. He's like, I want a bag of goodies. And for every square, double it, right? So for the first square, there are 64 squares on the chessboard, 8x8. And for the first square, he wants, one bag of grain. For the second, he wants 2. For the third, he wants 4. And the king's like, yeah, sure, fuck it, because apparently this man doesn't know maths. And they realize very soon, the treasury says, King, we don't have that much grain, because, believe it or not, when you do that, it gets very big, very, very fast. I mean, just think, right? 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. So that was, I didn't even get very far, did I? I'm a few fucking squares up the board. I'm at 128 grains. Bags of grain. That is just ridiculous. So the king's like, well, fuck, we're doomed. And I think the story just ends. I imagine he just paid him off. Look, he, I don't know if any of that's true, but I wanted to tell you about that rather than the chess was invented by aliens thing, because I hate that theory. It even has a little angry face, a little ooh face. I still don't know what ooh means. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but I've seen it in the context of emojis. So there we go. Next one. Kasparov was paid to lose to Deep Blue. Now, for all the theories that we have on this iceberg, this kind of tinfoil hat iceberg that we have, where things like Hikaru's ceiling are here. That's the only other one so far, but I think we'll have more as we go down. Kasparov was paid to lose to Deep Blue is probably one of the more likely of the chess conspiracy theories. I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's true, if I'm honest. But the theory is that Deep Blue was that computer that he played and he lost to. And the theory goes that the people who made Deep Blue paid off Kasparov and were like, look, we want everyone to think this computer is the shit, right? Can you lose? And then that'll increase our sales. So okay, here you go, or funding, or God knows what. And Kasparov loses. So I think really what this is people kind of saying that they don't believe the computer at that point was good enough to beat Kasparov, or maybe this was, I don't know if this was a contemporary theory that people had, that people were thinking that, no way a computer could be smarter than a human. But look, I don't really think that this happened, because Kasparov is a really bloody intense man, and he doesn't give the vibe of someone who would sacrifice their image for money. The guy really kind of gives off the vibe that he wants to be the best at chess, and so losing in any context is not something that he wants to do. Tamerlane chess. This is a variation. I think it's an old version. I'm going to give it a Google. I'm going to say it properly this time. Tamerlane chess is a medieval chess variant. And looking at the images, it's pretty freaky, pretty fun, pretty strange. In fact, it had a Tamerlane chessboard in the masculine array, a Tamerlane chessboard in the feminine array, in which there's a pawn. Basically, you just move the king and pawn backwards. You might want to give this a little Google, because it really is weird looking. And what it is it's like a regular chessboard set up like normal, but there's another few rows. Normally it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and that's it. But this is I, J, K. So you've got 10 rows. It's a 10 by 10 board. You also have this extra weird square. And there are 3 rows to your pieces. You've got the pawns, you've got the pieces, and then you have the back pieces, which are just more pieces. fun. And it's got weird different variations. You got the masculine array, the feminine array, and the third array, because by that point they didn't invent the term gender neutral. You've got the masculine, the feminine, and the they them array of the chessboard. Oh my god, why am I hitting every single controversial point? Look, I make no comment on that. What we have here though is a medieval version of chess. It's old. You might like it. I don't know why. It's a big thing. I believe it was invented by Timur the Conqueror. If you don't know them, the Timurids kind of came during, oh god knows, it was after the Mongols, but they just wrecked shit up. You know, they were a bit like the Mongols in that they just swarm places with horses and beat the fuck out of people, but I don't think that they covered as much ground as the Mongols. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, I don't know. But Timur the Conqueror, he invents it, and it's all fancy. It's nice. It's fun. Why not? People probably play it still, somewhere. People do everything, you know? It's weird. People are weird. Next is the Royal Game of Ur. I don't know if anyone played Morrowind and knows who Dagoth Ur is, but it's who it makes me think of every single time. And the Royal Game of Ur is an even older one, I believe. I think that this is oh dear god. Yeah, so this game, there's one dated to like 2600 BC. One of the oldest board games in the world. First played in ancient Mesopotamia. I mean, that's old, man. You go into Mesopotamia, wasn't that like one of the first ever civilizations? And this game's old, and it's quite cool looking at. I now very much want to have one of these just because it looks fun. And apparently it was forgotten in everywhere. You know, people just forgot it, except for the Jewish community who kept it going, and that's how we still sort of know about it. But it's really cool. It's really cool. I'd say give it a little look. I've heard about it. That's why it's down here, because I have heard about it. But it is strange, right? Like you won't have heard much about it because people don't really play it anymore. Next up is the Mechanical Turk. This was a fraud. It was a lie. It was a scandal, but it at the time was crazy. It was essentially like a animatronic, right? It was this robot looking thing. It was made to look like a Turkish man, hence the name Mechanical Turk. And it was supposed to be this kind of like almost magical, but it was framed as like scientific invention of this mechanical man who you would play chess against, and then it would play back like really good chess. And people were like, how the fuck could this like mechanical thing play good chess? What is going on here? And it did a tour of Europe. It went all around, and people would play it, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, what will they make next? What will these young whippersnappers craft up next?" When you know you've got a fucking mechanical man playing the best chess you've ever seen, which is a lie. I don't think he was that good. But in reality, the Mechanical Turk gets destroyed by like a fire, and the man who made it dies, and his son is like, "All right, now he's dead." Let me tell you guys, this was all bullshit. It was like made in a way that you know how like magicians make things. It's really cool. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a really cool invention. The guy managed to make this kind of thing that looked like a mechanical man, and inside was kind of a mechanical man. You know, you can maybe peer inside and just see like bolts and gears, and you're like, wow, you know, you couldn't have a human in there. But it was kind of puppeted. You know, like you could fit a person into like the bottom half and like puppet it. And so he'd like put it somewhere and have like a trapdoor he'd like stand, or maybe he'd sit in like those kind of boxes when they cut people in half. Like it's cool, but it was fake, but it was culturally important. You know, it was like, oh, look at this crazy machine. And yeah, it's kind of niche, kind of bit of niche little chess lore for you there. Up next, you might know this one if you're a coder, if you're a computer scientist. The Knight's Tour is quite a popular thing for teachers to get their coders to do. And this is where the knight can move around the whole board and go on every single square once, right? So you can figure out a way to have the knight just go on a tour around the whole board and step on every single square just once and completely step on everything. It's very difficult to figure out if you're a human. And nigh on impossible. Actually, no. People would have figured it out, right? Like it just takes a lot of time. But I think you can create a program. Essentially, you can code something to figure it out for you, and that's what they like challenge people to do, which is quite cool. Which is kind of like, just program something and say you need to find the most efficient way to do this. Can't do this, can't do that. There's your parameters, and then a computer just figures it out, which is awesome. Next up, Schlock, a game of shadows. This refers to Sherlock Holmes, which I've shortened to Schlock because there's a very funny YouTube video called Schlock. But yes, a game of shadows is, I believe, either a book or a film. I think it's actually the film, Sherlock Holmes, where he eventually plays and beats Moriarty at a chess game. And the chess game itself is based off a real chess game that happened. It is based off this one because it's a real thinker, and I think this kind of lended itself to the mythology around chess, that people have all these ideas of chess is this crazy game that you must be hyper intelligent to play, and you calculate all these moves ahead, where really most people who play it aren't like that. But Sherlock Holmes, it's I think it's more about sort of style over the substance of actual kind of a genius, which I am not criticizing it for. I love Sherlock Holmes. I think it's great fun. But yes, so Moriarty and Sherlock are playing, and it's based off a real game where the player sacrificed his queen for a pawn, which is a really weird move. And usually you will only do that if it immediately leads to checkmate. And I believe that in this game it doesn't. I believe that I think that if you play perfectly, black can't win anymore, the side that still has its queen. I think that it is the right move. I think it's the best move that you could do in this position of this game, is to sacrifice your queen for the pawn, and you get enough advantage that you eventually force a win. But the fact that it isn't obvious and that it's in the distance and it isn't an immediate win, that's really not something chess players do a lot, because it's, like I say, really hard to calculate further than 5 moves ahead, or 6 or 7. So they base it off that game, and it's quite cool that it's based off a real game, and it is cool, the game itself. Once you're into chess, we start finding things like this cool, where someone sacrificed a queen for a pawn and it eventually forced a checkmate. That's sick. Next, vertical castling. If you don't know what castling is, give it a Google. But it's basically where your king moves twice in the direction of the rook. There's nothing between them, and the rook then jumps over the king and sits on next to it. And that's castling, because you kind of you push your king into the corner, and your rook takes its place to protect it, which is very sweet. And you can do it either side of the board. The rules are now that the only rules are that there can be nothing in between it, and that the king and rook that castle together can't have moved already. So if you've moved your king already, you can't castle. And if you moved one of your rooks already, you can't castle that way. It has to be the first time you move those pieces, and it is always king moves twice that direction, and then the rook goes the other side of it. And vertical castling is because that wasn't always the rule. Initially it kind of was, that's how people did it, but they didn't include the rule that the rook couldn't have moved. It was just the king, I think that's it. That the rook could have moved anywhere, and if it was in, basically people just played it normally, but it never officially said that you couldn't move the rook. So what happened was someone created an example where they were I know how to win in this position, and then everyone was no, you cannot, this is actually impossible. And what they did was they castled vertically, where the rook was at the top of the board, and they moved their king twice in the direction of the rook, and then moved their rook all the way down to the other side of the king and checkmated. and were like, see, I just castled. You never said I couldn't do that. And everyone went, oh, well, that's bollocks. And they immediately changed the rules, and it's no longer a thing. But that's what vertical castling was. People might still do it for a bit of shits and gigs, but hey, whatever. We are now going down to the murky, murky depths of the second to last rung. This is where things get a little bit darker, a little bit dodgy, because when we get to the very bottom, if you can see them, they are ridiculous. They are just silly. But this is kind of both silly and also quite dark. The dark one being Chessboard Killer. This was a real person, unfortunately. I'm gonna Google their name just now. If I type in Chessboard Killer, Alexander Pichushkin. Yes. Alexander Pichushkin was a Russian fella, and he's believed to have killed about 49 people, I believe. Yeah, 49 to 60 people. That's a lot of bloody people. And he was called the Chessboard Killer because he liked chess. He was obsessed with it, and it was kind of a motif in his kills, I believe. He'd play chess with some people and then kill them. He was in Moscow, and what I think he usually would just smack them on the head with a hammer, or he'd push them down into the sewers, and it's quite dark, really, when you read about it. You kind of he's a bit of a messed up fella, because he said that he wanted to kill 64 people, one for each square of the chessboard. He later said that was bullshit, because he'd have just kept killing, which, I mean, look, he's being honest. He said, I know I said that, but I think, knowing me, I would have killed more, which is quite dark. But the reason why this guy gets me quite down is just that that's just a lot of people to kill, and they were just innocent people, that he'd literally, according to him, it was just a power thing, as it is with a lot of serial killers. I think a lot of serial killers are now, of course, let's not restrict people here. You can get plenty of women and all sorts serial killing. In the UK, we've had quite a brutal case recently of a nurse killing babies. It's really quite tragic. But in this case, you have a man, the standard man killing woman power situation, right? But with this guy, he wasn't quite that standard. He just killed men and women. But it was about the power. He was saying, for you need to eat. For me, I need to kill. I feel like their father. I feel like a god controlling whether they live or die. And, it's dark. It's dark. And when you kind of look into the psychology of these people, it's a bit messed up, because you sort of realize that they're people in the lightest sense of the word, in that, you'll talk to them and you'll realize that they're talking about how much they don't like Monday, and you're like, shit, these are just regular people who socialize. They're not that weird. They're quite normal, but they are also absolutely not. And generally, I think people lean either one way or the other too much, where the media likes to be they're absolute psychos, and they like to build the mythology of this chessboard killer who was just a calculating genius, and he wasn't. He was just messed up, right? But then you get the teenagers who study criminology, who then say, oh, they're actually fascinating. I actually find them fascinating, and they're very intriguing, and it's all right. Look, everyone has to have a phase, but they are just people. They're just people who are quite messed up, and that's the Chessboard Killer. Got myself a bit down there. Now we're leading into something a bit lighter, shall we? Chess directly leads to insanity. Not true, but this is actually not as dark as it looks. This isn't about some study that showed that chess players go crazy. It was. Do you ever hear old people these days say violent films make people violent, right? That's what I think they used to say. Now it's video games. Now it's violent video games turn children into psychopaths. And before that, it was violent films turn children into psychopaths. In fact, nowadays, it's probably TikTok, isn't it? Probably people saying that TikTok turns children into psychopaths. And I know that before films, in fact, it was pinball machines. They actually thought that pinball machines would encourage gambling and turn your kid into a violent criminal. Look, every time there's a new thing, people find a way to discredit it and say it's terrifying and it'll ruin your kids and your lives and all sorts. I need a sip of water, don't I? But there's all sorts going on. In this case, it was people saying that chess will directly lead to your kid going crazy. It's this new fad, which is weird, being that this game has been around for literally centuries and centuries. But sure, that's what people said. It was in the news. There was an article back in my day of God knows when. I just saw an image of a news article. So sometime after they invented the printed press. Next up, Kaiser. Again, pronunciation, don't judge me for it, but Kaiser is the god of chess. I believe she was invented by a romantic poet, someone of the Romance period, or was it Renaissance? I'm thinking. Yeah, I think an Italian writer in the Renaissance period invented this woman and sort of was like, oh yes, this is a Thracian or Dacian god who is the god of chess, and it's just here because people will mention it now and again. It was fictitious, yes, but depending on who you ask, you can say that about a lot of gods. And so Kaiser is a god of chess who I think Gary Kasparov in particular references often. He's like, Kaiser was on my side today, and it's cute. There's nothing. No one's sacrificed or gone to war over Kaiser, so let's not get too heated about it. Nazi chess. This is what will this refer to? The Nazis kind of played chess, but I guess what this will refer to is Dima. Is it Dima or Dima? Emil. I think his name was Emil Dima. I'll give it a look now. Hold on just a moment. Yeah, Emil Joseph Dima. He was a German chess master. He was a young man during World War II. Was he young? I'm not actually quite sure. Damn it, let me look up. Yes, he was. He was a young man during World War II, born in Germany. And like a lot of young men at that time, he joins the Nazi Party. And he then, and that's controversial enough alone. So he joins the Nazi Party and he travels around, he becomes a chess grandmaster because he just sort of goes, and I think he becomes like the chess editor for the Nazis. So he goes around, records chess games and puts it in the news. Fun times. The reason why he's controversial is that he's also very much in the world of chess, in the lore, a bit like Bobby Fischer. He had such an impact that people still talk about them, and then people will apply modern day sensibilities to them, and it's difficult because people are very passionate about that. They say you can never do that. Some say that you should. As with all things, it's probably a balance, right? I mean, if they were, I don't know, a warlord in the 1500s, then that was kind of a thing people did. Maybe we shouldn't try and cancel them retrospectively. But if they were they were eating children, and it wasn't even in their culture, then yeah, maybe you can apply some modern day sensibilities. But in this case, this man, the Nazi Party falls. Would you believe it? They lose World War II, and he's a bit of a sad boy. He's like, hey, no one's funding me anymore, so he doesn't get much attention. He then starts studying more chess. He gets really into it, and he starts doing quite well. And there's this gambit. I think it's a gambit called the Black Ma Gambit. And he really took it to another level. It was already good, but this guy played it and figured out how to make it even better. So it kind of got partially named after him. It's now called the Black Ma Dima Gambit. And so yeah, you've got this man's name on the gambit, and people then saying, well, he's a Nazi, so we must take his name off. And that's kind of a thing, if you don't know, in Western countries recently. In Britain, for example, I've lived in Bristol for a little bit, and they changed a load of names there from Colston to something else because Colston owned slaves and things like that. So there we go, another controversy to hit on. But yeah, essentially this is just that this man's name is on a very common chess opening, and he was a Nazi. And don't get me wrong, he wasn't like often people will say, well, look, everyone was a Nazi back in Germany. It was just the thing to do. And I actually do understand that. But the guy maintained his views for a while. Like, he still didn't like Jewish people, and I believe he said some very homophobic things. I believe he called the German Chess Federation a bunch of faggots. Oh my god, I should not say that on YouTube. Yeah. So that's a thing. I just hope this never gets to a future employer, unless I learn how to bleep things out, in which case there you go. But yeah, so essentially that's what happens, and they ban him, and he goes mental. And he goes to a mental health hospital, a mental asylum, right? They put him in an asylum. He gets what do they call it when they put folks in the asylums and they aren't allowed to leave? They're not convicted, but it's something like that, right? I can't think of the word right now. But they get put into a mental asylum, and Mr. Dima, he kind of is very sad, and his doctor won't let him play chess because it's too much of a stress, and I kind of get that. But then he's allowed to play chess, and he plays more, and he sort of, I think he spent the rest of his life living at the asylum, but he was allowed to leave and play chess. So the controversy here is that we have a man who was a Nazi or a member of the Nazi party, whose name is on a chess opening. I don't think I'd change it if we were looking for opinions, just because, look, it happened, right? And if you want to scrub it, then be my guest. Look, I'm not gonna get too heated about this, but whether or not there's much point to it, whether it'll help anyone, who knows? Maybe it would be a bit better if we kept it there, but if it's ever spoken about, just kind of give context. Context. Who knew context was so important? Moving onwards. Nigel Short gaslighted. All right, we're back to the tinfoil hat now. So Nigel Short in 2001 said, "I played Bobby Fischer online," and I don't know why this got so big. He was basically like, "I am telling you, this guy was Bobby Fischer," and Bobby Fischer was like, "It was not," and the guy was like, "Yeah, you proved it," or maybe he said that was it even online? He played someone, and I believe that Nigel Short has now said that he firmly thought it was Bobby Fischer, but he must have been mistaken, because Bobby Fischer says, "Look, I didn't do it." And that's where this story usually ends. Basically, Nigel Short claimed to play Bobby Fischer in 2001. Everyone goes, "No, you didn't." And he says, "All right, maybe I didn't." And people still ask him. They still say "Oh, did you really?" And he goes, "No, all right, I didn't." But this theory is that he did. He actually did. And then Bobby Fischer claims that he didn't, and he got gaslighted. He go boss gatekeep. God damn it, I do not know the words. He go boss gatekeep gaslighted Nigel Short into believing that he was not Bobby Fischer, and that he played some random dude, which is quite funny. And I quite enjoy this theory, just because I just like the theories that are there for no reason. You know what I mean? Like the theory that Gary Kasparov got paid off to lose to Deep Blue. There's a purpose for that. There's a reason why they would do that. Why would Bobby Fischer just gaslight Nigel Short? I don't know, but it's kind of funny. So there you go. The one after is just as ridiculous. Petrosian didn't cheat. This is a Russian. Let me just Google once again. Do not want to lie to anyone here. Tigran L. Petrosian. Where are you? Armenian. My apologies to Armenia. He is not Russian at all. He is Armenian. And as a Armenian, he's just a dude. I don't know why I led with that. Basically, this man cheated. He he just is an Armenian, and he cheated, and it was a big scandal, and he cheated a lot, and he was kind of known for it. This theory, it's just another kind of bullshit one where it's actually, what if he didn't? What if he just, he was just playing out of his mind, and everyone's decided that he has cheated. Who knows? I mean, I feel like I'm looking at Game of Thrones theories here, because everything is getting thrown into suspect, and everyone is saying, well, maybe not, but this is real life, and actually real life is often just as ridiculous. So we're reaching the end here of this introductory iceberg, where you can kind of then go and into the chess world and understand, have a vague idea what everyone's talking about, because this stuff just comes up all the time, right? Where people will mention these things and just kind of assume that you know what they're talking about. Hopefully after this you kind of have a rougher idea, because I say this now because this final bit is just ridiculous theories that are not true. Number one, that there is no correct way to pronounce FIDE. Who knows? Maybe this is true. Maybe it's Fide. I think I hear that. Maybe it's Fide. Fide. I pronounce it Fide myself. I have heard Fide a lot. It stands for I guess Fid. The words. I don't really know. FIDE. Why don't we just call it the FIDE? It stands for translated, the International Federation of Chess, and I believe that it is French. It's a French organization, Fédération Internationale de Escacs or something like that. Again, I do not speak French. And this is just saying that, hey, there is no way to say it. No one can agree. Just say it however the fuck you want. Let's go with FIDE. All right, let's all start saying FIDE. I quite like that one. God damn it. The second theory in this final run is that Magnus just makes random moves and gets lucky. So you know, I've talked about Magnus a fair amount here. Best player, currently, kind of, is he? Who knows? And this theory is that he just makes random moves, but he's really lucky. So this man who plays hours and hours of chess, who beats everyone that he plays at least once. You know, I don't think there's anyone he's played that he's never beaten. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He's just making random moves. He's just kind of shuffling pieces around, and then somehow he wins. Which, who knows, man? I mean, that's kind of like a superpower, right? I think that's a thing in Deadpool. Someone, or is it Deadpool 2? I don't know. Someone has a superpower where their power is they're just incredibly lucky. And this is the kind of thing I'd use it for. Just move a piece and get so lucky that you win every game. There you go. The final one. En passant was a coding error. Another kind of tinfoil hat conspiracy. This is that on computers, en passant, someone just did it and was like, what was that? And so they go to the people, they're like, what is this? How did I do that? Because again, if you look it up, it looks really weird. And the people who programmed chess, somehow, we're lumping them all into one now. They program it, and they're like, shit, guys, we fucked up. There's an error in the code. This guy just took a pawn without it being next to him. And the guy next to him was like, look, listen, we've already funded this. You know, we've got all these eyes on us. Let's just say it's a rule. I know it sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. What if we just tell everyone that en passant is a rule? We need to go boss gatekeep, gaslight them into thinking that this is some kind of rule that we'll just go, what? Yeah, that's en passant, mate. Never heard of it, you daft prick. And it worked. I'm convinced. You know, I've always heard of en passant, but maybe it was just a coding error. And that is all. There we go. We've reached the end. That was my little chess iceberg. If you're the only person who has found this, I imagine you're my girlfriend, who I have made this video for. But hey, I feel like I might make it public, you know, for fun, just in case, just so that like one dude who just has the same idea as me is like, hey, what if there is a chess iceberg? They might have been watching some sort of thing. Anyway, look, the point is, if you have found this and you don't know who I am, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm surprised you listened to the whole thing. I don't think I'm ever going to make another video, but who knows? Who knows? That's it though. This is all you need to know going into chess. If you kept any of that in, you can go into the chess world, watch the videos. If they make any of these references, you go, you know. Often people will say, and this position is Zugzwang, and you'll be like, oh yeah, Zugzwang. When no one can make a good move. Brilliant, you know. It's good. I'm done. That took fucking ages. I hope that you enjoyed this. Goodbye.